everybody. This is Anne. I am filming my entry into Nick the Booksmith's Deserted Island Challenge. Nick gave us the project of creating a journal with very limited resources. And the first set of resources she gave us were paper. I chose Strathmore Sketch 50-pound paper. It's kind of light, but I doubled it up and laminated pages together to get some body for the parts of my journal where I needed some heavier paper. I chose my needle and thread, which I used a Consew heavy-duty nylon thread, a heavy-duty needle, on paper so that I can find it if it falls out. Fabri-Tac by Beacon was my glue, and Tim Holtz tonic scissors. So that's what I chose to fulfill the 4 givens that Nick allowed us to have. And then my optional items were distress ink in Vintage Photo and the blending tool, a water brush, a fine point water brush, a Micron pen size 005 in black, and a crochet hook. Yeah, that's what it is. It's a boy size 10 crochet hook. And I will show you how I used all of these things to create my journal. This is my journal. It's my cruise journal because I was going on my dream vacation. What I used the Distress ink direct to the paper from the pad to get the darker tones on crumpled paper. With my crochet hook and thread, I created a little tassel here for the binding. I ended up using 3 signatures with, I think, 16 pages in each signature. And let's get into it. Here we have Bon Voyage. This is the first signature. A little tuck spot here with a tag, a little crocheted dealy doily, and Bon Voyage. And the first part goes into being excited about leaving on my cruise. Got my passport in the mail, and it's tucked under here. My friends took me out for a Bon Voyage party, and I had too many drinks with little umbrellas in them. Everybody was laughing because the name of my travel agency is Flib-Night Travel. And they said it sounded like fly-by-night. They're just jealous. Got such a deal, like almost too good to be true on this trip. Getting ready to leave, packing my luggage. I only got to take a very small suitcase. My tickets are in this little tuck pocket. This is the envelope they came in from Flib-Night Travel. And there's my boarding pass for my, it says Disney Cruise Line. That's not what I thought I was going on. Anyway, hope they work. But tomorrow I'm gonna go check them out and see if there's a problem. Went to check out the tickets, and the travel agency is closed. Not just closed, but out of business. Then we have the first day boarding at the ship. Looks kind of rusty, and the crew looks pretty sketchy. My stateroom is more like a cell, and as I'm trying to sleep that night, I realized that I haven't seen any lifeboats. This is a little tuck spot, kind of what the ship looks like. Nuts and bolts, rusty, and so as I'm really kind of nervous, I go exploring and I find a life preserver. So I steal it, take it back to my cabin, just in case. It's really, really cold on the ship. There's nothing to do. We took off from Portland and the weather is terrible. It's foggy, the sea is dark, nothing to look at. So I just sit in my cabin with my little blanket. But the weather as we get farther south gets better. Here's a little tuck spot with some tags. And I'm pretty excited about the weather getting better. However, after writing that in my journal, the weather turns really, really bad. And let me see if I can grab this. This isn't gonna work. And the ship sinks. Isn't that cute? I made a little slider there. So, on to Signature 3, Chapter 3. It's called Survival. And I've been floating in the water in my life preserver for 2 days. Finally see a little island off in the distance. Wash up on the island. And I'm dirty and my clothes are in rags and I need fresh water. So I go to look for water and I find a waterfall. Then as I'm on the island with my clothes in rags, I discover that I don't feel very comfortable at all being naked. So using my crochet hook and thread, I crocheted myself a little bikini. Looking around the island, I finally found a banana tree. Actually, I find a lot of banana trees and I am so excited because I love bananas and I'm not going to starve. So it's not really comfortable sleeping on the sand. It's cold. The sand is actually quite hard. So I decided that I need to use my crochet hook and thread and create a hammock. So I made myself this little hammock, tied it between 2 palm trees, and it's quite comfy. It just rocks in the breeze. And inside that there's a couple tuck spots with some paper. What I did for my paper was I did 3 things with paper. I used the blending tool. I also used the water brush with ink from the Distress ink pad and did that onto wet paper and also onto dry paper. Then I did direct to the paper from the pad to create my darker shades. And little tuck spots. Here's another little beach blanket that I made while I was making the bikini. And then we go on to, I noticed that there's this darling little green gecko looking at me. He didn't really seem afraid at all. As a matter of fact, he got very friendly while I was eating my banana lunch, breakfast, and dinner. I decided that maybe bananas aren't that awesome after all. And as a matter of fact, the next day I discovered that I have dreamed about tacos. Yes, tacos. I'm really tired of bananas. Looking for ways to get rescued. I wrote help in rocks on the beach in case somebody flies over. Here's a tuck spot with some more papers. And I guess that's just one page. I discovered that I could use my hammock technique to make a fishing net. So here's my fishing net. There's a little fish in there, some fish here, and it worked. Yes, I caught fish, and that became the day that things went from survival to actually living on the island. I ended up catching fish and deciding that I needed to cook them. I didn't have any kind of pot or pan to boil the fish or boil the water until I remembered that I had my Nick the Booksmith fanny pack. And I made some fish stew. Yes, this is a fanny pack over fire. And to make fish stew, you use seawater to get some flavor for it, and some fish. You use your Tim Holtz tonic scissors to descale and fillet the fish, and you boil them in the seawater until the water is reduced by half. And then you add some fresh water, boil it again, and your stew is done. It was really delicious. Exploring a little more, I found some taro roots, which can be mashed up to make like mashed potatoes almost. Kind of bland, but oh well. Then I found this is a mango. There's a papaya, avocado, lots of more vegetation on the island. And to remember where I found everything, I created a little map. Yes, it goes tucked right here in this little crocheted doily quarter. And more about the gecko. Yes, isn't he cute? He looks kind of familiar, doesn't he? He is now my best friend, and I've decided to name him Wilson. However, he does strange things like lick his lick his eyeballs, and munches on crickets in front of me. It kind of grosses me out. Then we have him being a little bit of a pest, and I decided I could use taro roots and some breadfruit, boil that up, mash it, and then spread it out on a hot rock by the fire and make like a flatbread or something that kind of like a tortilla. Yes, I'm still dreaming about tacos. Around day 45, I think I might be hallucinating. Either that or the gecko has learned to speak. Yep, he has an English accent. He's getting a little pushy, and he eats crickets in front of me, and it's kind of gross. Around day 52, he starts to get a little upset with me for spending so much time with my journal. So here in this pocket, I have created a journal just for Wilson. It's got one signature, and it's got little hearts. And unfortunately, Wilson didn't like it because, as it turns out, he doesn't have opposable thumbs and he cannot hold a pen. So he gets kind of pissed and takes off for days. Haven't seen him for days. But on a lighter note, we have beautiful seashells. This is a crocheted nautilus shell, a sand dollar, a clam shell, or a scallop shell. And then finally, on day 60, after I've been on the island for 2 months, Wilson comes back. Yes, he's forgiven me. And I've come to terms with being stranded on a deserted island. And it could be home. I'm actually quite content. But unfortunately, my pen is running out of ink. So that is my submission entry for Nick the Booksmith's Deserted Island Challenge. I hope you liked it. This is my first video, and if you give me a thumbs up, I will be encouraged to do more of them. But I probably will do more even if you don't. But please do, because I had a lot of fun, and I want to thank Nick for issuing the challenge. It was very inspirational and motivational. Thank you.